And good Tuesday evening, and welcome to another episode of Philly Sports Talk. I'm Bobby Cash, here with my co-host Chris Amos. What's up, Chris?
What's going on, Cash? How you doing?
I'm doing good. How was your weekend?
It was okay, but once the weekend ended and we had that miserable night last night in Philadelphia sports, it kind of put a dark cloud over everything.
Yeah, 2 straight 2-0 games for the Phillies. One on the losing end, one on the winning end.
Yeah, the Sixers last night just not having 2 of their starters and leaving Steph Curry do whatever he wanted.
Yeah, I mean, that was my thoughts watching the game and, tweeting during the game, and a lot of people responding back to me saying, what do you want them to do? Curry does this against every team. I said he scores 49 points against every team.
No, he doesn't.
Right.
And, it was one of those games last night where without Ben Simmons in there, I don't know how much Ben Simmons would have been on him, but you would have expected that he would have been on him last night.
Yeah, I mean, the talk was that he wouldn't have, but I think he would have. Just watching the game, I'm saying you have to deny him the ball. Don't even let them inbound and let him dribble up past half court, untouched. It was just too easy for him. He was pulling up from 35 feet. He had his brother on him. He was too comfortable.
For some reason, and I guess maybe it's one of those things because we watch the Sixers so much, but it just seems like what you're saying is true. But that's not the way that the Sixers play basketball, and a lot of times the perimeter defense just seems like it's not there.
No, I mean, if it's not, you have a certain player killing you like that, you got to make an adjustment. Doc Rivers has been around long enough to make an adjustment to they double team Embiid. Why can't we double team Curry? It's not like he has the all-star team with him. Make somebody else beat you. Make Andrew Wiggins beat you. Kelly Oubre. They're not, no.
Right, and that's the thing too, where it's not like a situation where, okay, they're just resting up or playing a little bit off people and preparing for the playoffs. I mean, we've been on this from day one that they got to get that number 1 seed, and that game was winnable last night. And like you said, yeah, just a little bit of defense may have helped out. Now, I understand no Simmons, no Tobias Harris last night, but the Sixers were either tied or within 1 point with 3 minutes to go in the game, and the next thing you know, you look up and the Sixers are down 9 and it's over.
It's over. That's what happens when the other team has a deadly 3-point shooter and you don't cover them. 10 3-pointers. That's just unacceptable. I don't care who he is. Nobody should make 10 3-pointers in the game.
Well, and true, and it's one of those things too where it seems like when a player like that, obviously, I mean, he's possibly the greatest of all time shooting threes, but still, when a player gets hot from threes against the Sixers, it seems like the Sixers are like, go ahead and keep shooting. Eventually, you'll miss.
Yeah, they become a fan.
Yeah,
they start smiling on the bench. I don't know. It just seemed like it was a throwaway game. They didn't play Simmons. He was sick, I guess they said, and Tobias Harris has a little nagging injury. I think he could have played if it was the playoffs, but they don't want to chance it. So you mean you're losing 35 points right there. So it's going to be tough.
Yeah, George Hill made his debut last night.
Yeah.
But what can you really say about that? Because he was brought in to complement players who weren't even playing.
Right.
So,
right.
Oh, and for those of you out there listening, an update: the Phillies have taken a 4-0 lead against the Giants with a home run, 3-run home run from Bamboo Brad of all people against his former favorite manager, Gabe Kapler.
So I guess Joe Girardi looks like he is a magician with that move, huh? Sitting Reese playing Bamboo Bread.
Yeah, I guess he does, and I guess the thing is too, you would now think with as well as that bullpen's been throwing and with Zach Wheeler on the mound, this game should be over, but let's not speak too soon.
Yeah, you would think the Giants don't have the greatest of offenses.
No, they don't. Yeah, and And going back to the Sixers, it's one of those things too where you look at it. There's teams where those things happen in the NBA. Obviously, Brooklyn has been going through that all year, where on a nightly basis, you don't know who's going to be in that lineup and who's going to be out. And it's just one of those things to where when you're the fan of a team, it's frustrating, and especially against a team like Golden State, who has been so good for so many years. You just like to see your team beat them. Of course, you like to see your team beat anybody, but it was frustrating because it looked like from the way the game looked on paper, one where Golden State would easily run away with it, with two starters being out. When that didn't happen, and then for what did happen, like you said, that lack of defense on Curry and making an adjustment, it's frustrating. And for those of us who followed the Sixers as long as we have, it's like, wait a minute, we've seen this way too much, and I know it's one game, it's a different season,
right,
but they don't have that pedigree of like, okay, well, they won 2 championships in the last 4 years, so this game's okay.
Right. They don't have. Yeah, they're trying to win one. They can't just be throwing away games with 15 games left. Especially when the number one seed means so much to a team that just doesn't play as well on the road. And like you said, Brooklyn's going to be their top competition, and we don't want to be playing in Brooklyn, especially with the 3 stars. They'll be back for the playoffs. You know that they're not going to be out in the playoffs.
And if it goes to Game 7, they'll be playing if they got to be out there in a wheelchair.
Yeah, and the only question is, will they be able to play? I mean, obviously they'll be able to play together. It's just, will they, blend as if they played together all season? Who knows? The individual talent could probably take over and get them to the Eastern Conference Finals. It's no problem.
When you look at the teams right now who are behind the Sixers and behind Brooklyn, when you look at teams like Miami, the New York Knicks of all teams are right there.
6 in a row for the Knicks.
Amazing, and they're playing Charlotte tonight, so in Madison Square Garden, so that could be an easy 7 in a row for them. Yeah, Charlotte's one of those teams where if they're not hitting their shots, they're going to pack it in early. If they're hitting their shots, they can be trouble. And you look at Boston as well there, and even a team that's been playing well lately has been the Chicago Bulls. I know they're not high in standings, but the way the playoff system is this year, I mean, they got a chance to be there as well.
Yeah, they're sitting in the 10 hole. They're tied with Washington and Toronto of all teams, who we thought gave up on the season by trading away Norman Powell and Terrence Ross. They had all but packed it in, but they've been playing decent. They won 3 in a row. And this season, like you said, there's 15 teams in the Eastern Conference, and 12 of them are still alive right now. So
yeah, I guess the 3 who are out. That's Orlando's out, Detroit's out,
Cleveland
and Cleveland, correct.
Yeah. So
yeah, surprising. I guess it's kind of similar in the West too, because I guess Golden State just got over 500 last night.
Yeah, so in the West, you have the Spurs sit in the 10th spot, and then it goes back a little bit to New Orleans. They're 17.5 back, so they're 3.5 behind the Spurs. And then it goes another two games to Sacramento, and OKC, Houston, and Minnesota are pretty much eliminated.
Correct.
So even Sacramento with 15 games left, I don't see them making up 5.5. They've tanked. They've won 1 out of their last. They're 1-9 in their last 10.
Yeah, that would pretty much seal it for them.
Yeah.
When you look at it, though, and you say, it's going to see, okay, well, the Spurs are in the last playoff spot. I mean, just even mentioning the Spurs in playoffs, they could be trouble just because of who their coach is.
Yeah, and they've played 500 ball with a team that doesn't even have a superstar. We call DeMar DeRozan the superstar, but he's not a top 5 player or top 10 player. He's a middle of the road superstar. He's an all-star. He's an all-star. We'll leave it at that. He's a high-volume shooter.
Right. Well, he's another guy who's a Tobias Harris.
Yeah. He's a Tobias Harris on a team that doesn't have a Simmons or Embiid. So out west, you look at the top of the conference. Utah's 1.5 games ahead of Phoenix for the number 1 seed, and then back 3.5 to the Clippers, 5.5 to Denver, and then the Lakers 8 back in the 5 seed. So they're not going to have a home series. Will that hurt them? It could.
Well, they might end up getting into a series with the Clippers, and then they actually do have home games.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, not right now. I mean, the Clippers are 3, and they're to 5, so they won't play each other until the finals.
Yeah, true. If everything holds the way it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and out there, I agree with you mostly on that. That I don't think the Jazz are the team. I don't know. I think the Suns. The Suns don't have that pedigree right now. And if I look out west, I look to the Clippers because of one player, and that's Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah. Paul George doesn't hurt you either.
No,
They need to get healthy. They're missing Patrick Beverly. They're missing, I think, not Zubac. Who else is out? Somebody else was out for them. Well, Rondo. They just picked up Rondo.
correct. Yeah, it seems to be one of those things that's going through the NBA this year, where teams that have been at the top have run into some injury problems, and especially if you look out there at the Lakers, especially with LeBron missing the games that he missed and things like that.
Yeah, Serge Ibaka. That's who they're missing. The Clippers.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're missing their pesky point guard that can cover anybody, and Serge Ibaka, who's a 15-point a game power forward. So I think once they get healthy, I think they are the team that beat out west.
Yeah, and that's, of course, just coming from the Philadelphia perspective, we always have those memories of Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah. Not a good one. That's pretty much up there with the Joe Carter memory for me.
Yeah, it has to be. Or I guess the one when you think about the Eagles, who was that intercepted the ball for Tampa Bay and was running down the sideline? What was the defensive back?
Not Dexter Jackson.
No, back there in that playoff game, I guess.
Last game at the Vet?
Yes, the last game at the Vet. That name will come to us, but yeah, it's up there with one of those memories, of course.
I have John Lynch in my head.
That's who it is.
Is it John Lynch?
Yeah, I believe it is.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to find that one.
What's that?
I said I'm not gonna be able to find it.
Yeah, I think so, because I think one of the things that I remember, I was listening to one of the other sports talk shows after the Phillies had finally won the World Series in 2008, and it was Angelo Cataldi, and he was making the comparison that was with one pitch from Brad Ditch last night. Stevens misses the check on Eric Lindros. Lynch doesn't intercept that ball against Donovan McNabb. The Sixers don't run into the Lakers in the finals, and finally Joe Carter flew out.
I'll never get over the pitch either. The pitch being down and in like that.
It was golf swing.
I don't think I even told you. Mitch Williams followed our show on Twitter.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, his podcast followed our podcast. I actually talked to him about the game the other night.
Oh, well, maybe sometime we could do a show together.
Yeah,
or
have him on. I'd love to have him on. Yeah. Yeah. So, Adam's asking if we see Sixers Nets at the Eastern Conference Finals, and I do. I don't see it any other way.
Yeah, that's got to be how I look at it right now. I just fear the fact that the Sixers have. I know. Okay, Brooklyn has been good, but then again, they just got these players recently, and of course, we think they're going to be the team that the Sixers will have to face in the Eastern Conference Finals. I'm just hoping it's not a situation where the Sixers run into a road bump in the second round, because we've seen that before.
Yeah, and who's lurking there is Boston, and they've been playing good. They've won 8 out of 10, and I just don't like the way we play against them.
And it's another situation to where we've beaten them 3 times here in the regular season.
Mm-hmm. Not this year. I'm talking about past years.
Right. And then the fact that the Sixers did beat them 3 times this year in the regular season, that doesn't mean a thing once the playoffs start.
No. And the other thing is playing the Nets. Did you see the end of the game the other night? The way they handled Embiid with two bench players, and Claxton and who was that guy that played at the end of the game and then almost brought them back. Alizé Johnson.
Yeah, they double teaming him.
They were double teaming him hard every time he caught the ball, and it was giving him problems. You know how Embiid catches the ball in the post and he fumbles around, drops it. They were turnovers. So even Durant on the bench, he looked like, oh, we figured something out here. So I wouldn't be surprised if they went with a lineup of Irving, Harden, Durant, Johnson, and the Claxton just to give Embiid fits and use their 6 fouls on him.
Well, and like you said, that's another thing too. I mean, there's other teams out there who would see that and say, you know what, we might be able to try and run the same thing out of them and see what can happen.
Golden State was doing it last night.
Yep, exactly. And then there again, you're going to run into the situation of the fact that Ben Simmons is going to have to step up. And okay, we got to resign to the fact that when Embiid is going to pass out of that double team, he is not going to be passing to Simmons for an open jump shot. But if Simmons gets that ball, he's going to have to be able to attack, and somebody else may have to hit a shot. If Simmons does his usual, turn his back to the basket and pass.
Yeah, the Sixers have to be ready for it. They have to be ready for this double team. Embiid did have 8 assists last night, which is, I believe, is a season high. He almost had a triple-double. But he just has to be quicker with the pass. He has to be firmer with the catch. He can't drop the ball. All this in the playoffs, 2 turnovers can make the difference between a win and a loss. Yeah.
And it has seen in the playoffs as well. We've seen some of it this year in the regular season, but also at times when you get into crunch time in the playoffs, the whistles can go silent on plays like that.
Right. Yeah, they're going to let you play. And
they're going to let you play, correct.
They're not going to call the ticky-tack foul.
Have gotten themselves into some games where that's going on, and they haven't come out on the positive end of it.
Right.
Hey, everybody, we probably haven't plugged this yet, but we just want to let you know that you are listening to Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris right here on IE Sports Radio, and this is your direct feed for all that's sports. And we have covered the team that's got the best chance of winning in Philadelphia right now, the Sixers, and I think we're going to move on. Is that correct?
Yeah, I just wanted to say one more thing. Like watching that series between the Sixers and Nets would be a nail biter to say the least. I could see myself standing for half the games just to see the Sixers in the Eastern Conference Finals. For us, I mean, I've seen it once in my adult life, 2001.
Me too.
So, we talk about it like it's a every year thing, but we'd have to appreciate it if it does come.
Well, yeah. When I think back to that, I just get the picture in my head of Dikembe Mutombo holding up the Eastern Conference trophy, and that's how far back we're talking.
Yeah.
The guy who's now doing commercials where he's vlogging kids putting cereals into a shopping.
Yeah, exactly. It's 20 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. All right, so like you said, we're going to go from the Sixers to not the first place Phillies, but the second place Phillies, who have.
When you just mentioned that, it just hit me that if the Phillies don't make the playoffs this season, it'll be 10 seasons. 10 seasons. Wow.
10 seasons. And we went to the playoffs for like 4 or 5 straight years, and then it's been 10 years since.
Well, from 2007 to 2012, the Phillies were the team to beat in the National League East. But been a dry spell since.
I mean, it's been a dry spell, but it seems like every season we're in it till August or September. They're always right there. They're always a game or 2 behind, and they just don't have they don't have it in September. They don't have the players.
And he came down to the last game of the season last year, even though it was a short season.
Yeah.
It came down to the last game, and they put it on Noah's arm, and it didn't work out.
Yeah. So, as advertised, as I talked about on Twitter today, we're going to talk about the Phillies struggle to score runs. And how I see this team as Bryce Harper and the rest of the team. What it reminds me of is the Phillies from the 80s, growing up seeing Mike Schmidt and a bunch of guys. That's all it was. Mike Schmidt and a bunch of guys. Like, you have to go watch Bryce Harper bat, but the rest of the team's like, this isn't a major league roster. We're looking at Mickey Moniak, Roman Quinn. We went 13 games without a hit from a center fielder. It's a major league record.
Yeah, there actually was one tonight. Mickey Moniak managed to get a single tonight, and I don't understand. Well, I guess I do understand because Gabe Kapler is managing the Giants. There was the shift on for Moniak, and he hit it through the shift on the left side. So much for that analytics that we ended up hating for the 2 years Kapler was managing the Phillies. But you're right. the problem with scoring runs and what makes it stand out so much more and is so frustrating is the fact that it's runners in scoring position that the Phillies just can't seem to push across the plate.
No, they can't. They just don't have that type of a hitter. They have a Rhys Hoskins who's a home run hitter. And, I don't want to say Brad Miller. JT Realmuto who has not been good with runners in scoring position.
No,
not even making contact. Yeah, he's not even making contact. He's striking out too much. The whole team's striking out too much. This is the team that can't put the bat on the ball. I mean, Gene Segura is probably the only other guy in the lineup that's, he's hitting 345. He's got 7 RBI, 7 runs scored. He's been decent. 20 hits already. Other than him.
And Alex Bo's still a rookie, and he's doing his part. But the only problem is it seems like he's not coming up in enough situations where there is men on base. I mean, I still think since he's joined the club, he's batting close to 400, or it's at least the high 300s with runners in scoring position. It's just the rest of the team. It's just been a struggle.
Yeah.
And last night, right? It was one of those games where it looked like who was pitching on both sides, you were going to have a game that was high scoring, especially when you looked at the over/under being 8.5. And then when you looked at how the game was playing out and it was going to be low scoring, the second time through the lineup, Hoskins got on, Harper got a double at second and third, and unfortunately there was 2 outs, and JT was up, and he took a call third strike on a very mediocre curveball.
You mean the best catcher in baseball took a third strike? I can't believe it.
Yeah, well, if he's the best catcher in baseball, I think the Phillies are going to call me to play center field soon.
He did it again tonight.
I know. There's a lot of people out there who won't agree with us on that, and a lot of people who wanted the Phillies to re-sign JT. And I'm not going to be one who's going to say, okay, well, they signed him, and it was a good thing that they didn't sign him, and yeah, they got themselves a catcher. And you can get into that discussion, well, could they have spent money elsewhere? I'm not concerned about the money. The man has got a huge contract. Everybody wanted him back. They call him the best catcher in baseball. It's about time he starts producing and he starts doing things in the clutch situation. If you're up 6-0 in a game, he'll hit you that 2-run home run.
And he did. He did that the other night. 6-0 in a game.
In a close game, you're going to, like I said, and the whole time JT's been with the Phillies, I can only remember one big hit, and it was a grand slam against Atlanta the first season he was here.
Yeah, his first game. It's been nothing since.
It was very early in the season.
Yeah. So it's he's 30 years old, like we said 100 times. He's never played in a playoff game, and the team did not bring in a new player just on for their everyday lineup. They went with the same lineup as last year. Yes, granted, they did bring in some relief pitching, but you have to do more. Andrew McCutchen, he's not going to cut it. I think he's finished. To tell you the truth, I don't think he has it anymore. He's a ground out to third base right now.
And I guess tonight they put Matt Joyce in the leadoff spot, and that's not the answer either.
No, Matt Joyce is another journeyman who has 2 years left.
I just want to bring up here before I forget this: how bad is Scott Kingery playing that he cannot be on this team?
I don't know. I mean, they've been making roster moves left and right, and I haven't heard his name mentioned.
No, I haven't either, and I'm like, my goodness, yes, we did see the fact that he did struggle, and maybe it's a situation where they don't want to put him in center field, that what's going on, they want him to become an everyday second baseman, or hope he turns into that, or can make adjustments and become that. But I don't know. As being someone who's obviously never been a major league player, I don't understand that. Okay, well, they had him at second base, they had him at shortstop, they had him at center field. What does that got to do with how he hits the ball?
Nothing. And wherever he is right now, they're not playing.
Right.
They're playing against each other. I assume they're having taxi squad games. Who are they playing against? Guys on the street? I mean, there's nobody there. They made a move today. Your favorite player got put on the player. They call it the player pool. Ranger Suarez was added to the player pool, so he is still around.
Yeah, only because he's left-handed. But like I said, discussing that guy before. Okay, if by chance Ranger Suarez takes the mound, just put 2 runs on the board, or at least put 2 hit batters, because that's going to happen.
It's a way to make money.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, look at where the Phillies are at that point. As soon as Ranger Suarez takes the mound, he was one of Gabe Kapler's favorite players.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. That's why he's not here anymore. Hey, Gabe Kapler, by the way, got the win last night, becoming the first manager in Major League history to be 200 and 200 through 400 games. That shows the mediocrity of him.
If that doesn't spell out exactly who Gabe Kapler is.
Yeah.
But the one thing though that I did tweet out last night, and it was a lot of it was tongue in cheek. It was I guess maybe Gabe Kapler wasn't the whole problem, because now we have Joe Girardi here, and like you just went through, it's the same players doing the same thing. And I don't know. I guess I didn't catch this or whatever. Is Didi Gregorius hurt, or did they just give him a couple of days off trying out the shortstop that they brought up?
I think he's in COVID protocol.
Is that what it is? Okay.
I don't know if they call it that in baseball. I mean, I'm using the NBA terms. But, yeah, they put him, Matt Moore, and Alvarado on the injury list. COVID, they were exposed or something. I don't know how long that's going to go for. Matt Moore, I don't mind. But I'd like to get Didi back.
Well, Cash, I want to ask you a question. This is something that I don't think we really talked about. And I've seen this. I've seen a lot of this on social media. And as the Giants get on the board with the Buster Posey home run, a lot of people are wanting the Phillies to bring back Cole Hamels, and I don't. Someone last night asked me why, when I responded to them by saying that no, they shouldn't, and I just said, well, Cole Hamels is a left-handed pitcher who has a decent pedigree when you look back at his career, and if he had anything left, he'd be in a rotation right now.
Exactly.
He would not be out there for the Phillies just to go ahead and pick up.
Unless he doesn't want to be, but I don't know his situation. I mean, last night he pitched was 2019 for the Cubs. He started 27 games. He went 7-7. He tried to come back with the Braves last year, but he pitched 1 game.
And was injured.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I mean, I don't know if he's still working through the injury, but he's 37 years old. I don't think he's the answer. Cool.
No, but I think to a lot of Phillies fans out there, you just say Cole Hamels. I mean, if you told them now the Phillies were looking to bring back Ryan Howard, they'd be all excited to bring him back too.
The Phillies also added Cornelius Randolph to the roster, who was a number 1 pick in the last couple of years, shortstop. So I don't know what the Didi situation is, but didn't Maton hit the home run tonight?
No, he had a triple that knocked his Moniak after his single to give the Phillies the first run.
Okay.
And then it was Brad Miller who hit the 3-run home run for the Phillies. And it is in the top of the 5th right now. Zach Wheeler is at 64 pitches with no outs, and it is 4-1.
Okay. They're telling me in my ear here that McCutchen has swelling in his right elbow.
Oh. Well.
But I had heard the thing about the COVID, so who knows what's going on with it. They've made so many roster moves the last 2 days, I can't keep up with it.
Well, could you get our crack staff on that to find out for sure?
For who? About who? Didi? Yeah, Didi has the swelling left elbow.
Didi has that, but
That's from carrying the team. I don't know what that's from. I went to the game Sunday, by the way. I was at the game. It was a nice day. We sat in right field. We were about 10 feet from Harper's home run. It went right by us. And
you got a picture. You got a picture of the ball.
Yeah, I got a picture. My daughter went over and grabbed the ball from the guy who caught it and took a picture of it. Didn't even have a mark on it. It was the ball.
And how little did you know at the time that was the game-winning hit?
Yeah, the game-winning hit.
That was Aaron Nola, as everyone expects Aaron Nola to be. Now, unfortunately, that's not the Aaron Nola you get all the time, and especially if it's in a big game or in September.
That was actually the first time Aaron Nola has thrown a pitch in the 9th inning in his career.
Oh, wow.
Yes, he never pitched into the 9th. He has 2 complete games. They're both last year, and they were 7-inning games. Yep. So, save that ticket stub. Oh, yeah, there isn't any.
And I also remember last year that I'll never get that last year out of my mind. But the fact that the Phillies were one game out from making the playoffs, and just that doubleheader they had in Buffalo against Toronto, and it was the day that it would have been Nola's day, and they didn't pitch in either of those two games last year in 7-inning games, and they lost them both. Like I said, that was the Vince Velasquez start, where the Phillies in the second game of that doubleheader got up 7-0, and Vince Velasquez couldn't hold that lead. Who, by the way, will be making his first start of the season coming up this Friday in Coors Field.
So if you have any extra money laying around, folks,
oh my goodness,
the Colorado Rockies Friday night will be a free selection here on the Philly Sports Talk Show.
I mean, Clayton Kershaw struggles when he has to go there.
Exactly. I see around a 7 innings, 10 hits, maybe 3 innings pitched. 7 runs, 10 hits, 3 innings.
But you know what's going to happen, though. The first 6 batters, he's going to strike out 5 and get a weak ground ball on the 6th batter, come out there for that 3rd inning, and it's going to blow up.
Yeah, Charlie Blackmon will probably have a 4-hit game. He's already happy he heard that. That's about they changed him to Friday night. I heard originally he was pitching. Thursday night. I heard.
And I heard Friday.
Okay.
So it's one of those times, and I guess it's Matt Moore. It would be his start. But like you said, if he's on the COVID list, then he won't be making a start. And it's just a frustrating thing when you have Matt Moore as one of the starters. And the one thing I wanted to mention that has frustrated me for a while now, and I don't know, Cash, if this has frustrated you, but there should never be a time in any situation when we're watching professional sports or commenting on it where somebody like me knows more than the people running the team and managing the team. That should never happen. And me and you were talking about the fact Matt Moore, he was in Japan. He shouldn't be over here.
No, and you mean to tell me that there wasn't a better option? Like you just said, Cole. People were asking for Cole Hamels. There's nobody else out there. There was last year's Cy Young winner.
Correct.
Did we call him? I doubt it.
No. Everybody was concerned about signing JT.
Yeah, exactly. For another 15 to 20 million, you could have had Trevor Bauer. You could have had Corey. I don't know. I haven't checked to see how Corey Kluber's been pitching, but it's a name. It's a better name than Matt Moore.
Well, all you have to know is they weren't in Japan.
Right. Exactly. What's he gonna say? Yeah, I didn't get myself together. Of course he's gonna say he feels better and he feels like he's ready to pitch in the major leagues. He wants the money.
Right, and of course, like I rarely listen to guys talk husky, but I did happen to catch what he said about. It's like, yeah, I just didn't feel like I had my best stuff, and I tried to push myself through it. And of course, I mean, obviously, you didn't have your best stuff. You're getting hit around.
Even his best stuff's going to get hit around.
Exactly. And hopefully,
we didn't talk about last night's crowd chants, the Fire Howie chants coming from the Phillies games. How do you feel about that?
There was a rumor he was there.
Really?
Yes, that Howie Roseman was at the Phillies game last night, and I think the fans were letting him hear it. I don't think it matters, but they let him hear it.
So somebody spotted him in a club box?
I'm not sure. That was the only rumor I heard. I can't confirm whether he was there or not, but what we can confirm that is what was being cheered. And my only point to that is, okay, most people at a Phillies game are not going to cheer for the Eagles if the Phillies are getting hits and scoring runs.
They were chanting it on Sunday. We heard Eagles chants on Sunday.
But were they chanting to fire?
No, we just heard the EAGLES Eagles a couple times.
Okay.
Yeah, it's coming from the third base side.
Well, I think that's wishful thinking from the fans.
All right, let's take a break and we'll be back and we'll keep talking about the Phillies.
We'll take that break right here, everybody. You're listening to Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all the sports. We'll see you after the break.
What's good, fight fans? It's your boy, Marcus Rose Rate, here to give you what you want, here to give you what you need. Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm coming to you live, straight from your mama's basement with a crispy white tea. They're coming to you live every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Everybody, this is Taryn Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunder Spikes? Then I have the show for you, Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Welcome in to the Neutral Zone. I'm your host, Robert Kavanaugh, and you're listening to IE Sports Radio. If you like big, nasty hits, if you like slap shots straight to the neck, if you like it when the gloves hit the ice and the big boys get down, then this is your show. On IE Sports Radio, this is the Neutral Zone. May our shots on goal always be true and straight to the net. If they are not, may they be followed up, redirected, or change collected. Let's go on IE Sports Radio with me, your host, Robert Kavanaugh, and this is the Neutral Zone.
Hey guys, it's Blake Henley, better known as H-Town Blake to some of you. Happy to announce that Bases Loaded is back in full force. We'll be bringing that high heat every Tuesday night here on IE Sports Radio. So come home, get ready, dig into that batter's box, and see if you can chase that high heat, baby. So we'll be coming to you live with all the stats, all the rundowns, all the division rivalries, and every team that's going to make the playoff push to get to that one and only October and get to the pinnacle of what baseball is, to hoist that Commissioner's Trophy when it's all said and done.
And welcome back, everybody. We thank you all for listening. We just talked Sixers and we talked Phillies. Next, I'm going to talk about something that I watched this weekend, and I'm sure Chris will be excited about. I was going through the on demand, and I saw that Peacock has all 37 WrestleManias available. So what did I do? I watched WrestleMania 1. I don't think I've seen that since I was probably 10 years old. So I was like, wow, this is so cool. I was watching it like it was the first time I was watching it. I mean, I was a big WWF fan, and I'm sure millions of people were, but I watched this like it was new to me. I didn't know who was going to win the matches, and that's going to give me my trivia question of the week for you. Who won the first match in WrestleMania history? I'm sure you know.
Oh boy, you know what? I got to think about that. I was just thinking what's the first match because I remember the early match. An early match being King Kong Bundy or Rusty Jones.
Yes.
It was 9 seconds, but it was a lot longer than that. The winner of the first match was it Ricky Steamboat?
No, he was in it though.
He was in it. I guess he took on Matt Bourne.
Yeah, he was the third match, and King Kong Bundy was the second match.
And I'm missing out on because we didn't rehearse this obviously or talk about it earlier.
Right.
And I can probably go down the rest of the card because it was Junkyard Dog against Greg Valentine, Andre the Giant against John Studd. It was the tag team match with Barry Windham and Mike Rotundo against the Iron Sheik and Big Live Hulk Hogan. And of course, everybody remembers the main event: Hulk Hogan and Mr. T against Roddy Piper and Warrendorf. And how am I missing that? I'm missing that first match. How it was?
It was Tito Santana defeated a wrestler that I don't remember, the Executioner.
Oh my goodness!
You heard? Did you ever hear of the Executioner?
I remember the Executioner, but I don't remember who the Executioner was on that date. I mean, they would run any guy out there and call him the Executioner. No, he's hanging around the back, put him under a mask. I guess you could probably look that up. But Tito Santana, a guy who had a very long career in the WWF.
Yeah, he did. Well, he was when the Executioner came out. They said he was undefeated. He had never lost a match. That's how they were billed.
That was Gorilla Monsoon and
Jesse the Body Ventura. Yep.
Jesse the Body Ventura.
Tito Santana must have been a tag team partner with about 10 different guys. He had, Strike Force.
With Rick Martel, who had WrestleMania 5 turned on it.
I just have a smile on my face because I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell Chris I was going to do this. Yeah, it was great watching it. Ricky Steamboat. I don't remember Matt Bourne either. I don't remember that name.
Yeah, Matt Bourne was around for a while. I believe if I'm correct, Matt Bourne actually became Doink the Clown.
I remember him. But Ricky Steamboat wasn't Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. He was just Ricky Steamboat in this WrestleMania.
Yeah, and he was. I guess the biggest thing that sticks out to me with Ricky Steamboat is, of course, his match with Randy Savage at WrestleMania 3, the one that was in the Silverdome.
Yep, that was a great match.
It was, and I remember some of the later stuff with Steamboat too when he was in NWA taking on Ric Flair.
Yeah, just remember being a kid jumping off the couch and hitting the elbow with Ricky Steamboat off the top rope. That was always fun. Yeah, but the King Kong Bundy match was pretty much SD Jones ran at him, he caught him, put him into the corner, slammed him and covered it. It was longer than they said it was 9 seconds, but I think it was more like 25 seconds.
It was quick. I'm trying to remember if they announced SD Jones from Philadelphia.
They did. Yeah, from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. SD Special Delivery Jones. It was Fink that did the introduction. Right, he was the ring announcer. Matt, what's his name? Finkel.
Yes, Howard Finkel.
Howard Finkel.
Yeah, probably the greatest ring announcer in wrestling history. He recently
passed away. Yeah. Who sang the national anthem? Do you remember that?
For WrestleMania 1?
Yeah.
I think 3 was Aretha Franklin. I'm trying to remember 1. It wasn't Aretha Franklin, was it?
No, it wasn't a singer. I'll give you that.
Okay, because I know they had the Rockettes there. I know they had Liberace. Was it Liberace?
It was Liberace. Yeah, it was Muhammad Ali was the guest referee.
Well, that was an interesting story because the main event.
Right.
And the day of the show, he was it just looked like when they were going over everything. If you go back and you can find the story, of course, a lot of places, going over the match, he just didn't seem to be someone who should have been in there. So Pat Patterson, a long-time WWF employee and former wrestler, decided to be in the ring and let Muhammad Ali be outside and be the enforcer. That's why he wasn't in the ring.
Well, even in 1985, he was out of it.
I don't know if it was for medical conditions. It was just he wasn't able, I guess, to pick up on the fact that, okay, even though he had done some work and stuff before with Gorilla Monsoon early in his career, he just wasn't able to pick up on, okay, where he was to be at different times and how to just actually at different positions and how to actually let the guys know what to do at different times during the match. Because for those of you who have never really been involved in wrestling, this is kind of behind the scenes. At times, the referee can be your best friend in there because he can tell you, okay, this is what's coming, and we need to get to this point in the match quicker and things like that. So,
wow, I could sit here and listen till midnight to Chris talk about wrestling. It's fascinating for me.
Now here's an interesting thing too, because we didn't talk about this. We always think about having a Philadelphia flashback, and the Philadelphia flashback that I was going to bring up tonight, which we didn't discuss before, I'll bring it up now. It goes back to April 17th, 1999, and what happened in Philadelphia sports that day, Cash?
1999 or 1989?
1999, April 17th. It took place in Madison Square Garden.
Oh, geez. I was thinking of the Mike Schmidt 500 film. It wasn't.
No. It's the Eagles.
In Madison Square Garden?
Yes. That's where the draft was held.
Oh, Donovan McNabb.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the only reason I'm connecting this to wrestling is because I was in Buffalo, New York at the Burt Flickinger Center that day. I was working with a company, and they still exist. It's called RF Video, but I was working with them as they were selling merchandise and also videotaping an ECW event taking place that night in Buffalo, New York. So many people in Philadelphia would recognize ECW, and a lot of wrestling fans would recognize ECW. I just happened to be there that day, and that was the day McNabb was drafted. I brought that up because the Eagles have a draft coming up soon, and that's about the only thing we can really talk about right now with the Eagles. But I didn't realize this. I guess I did at the time, but when you go back and look at that draft and those 5 quarterbacks, wow, that was Tim Couch and Dante Culpepper.
Yeah. Achilles Smith.
Yes.
Went to Cincinnati. Dante Culpepper to Minnesota. Donovan to the Eagles. Tim Couch to Cleveland. And the 5th one would have been Cade McNown to the Bears.
Bears, correct.
Thank you.
I guess only 3 times in NFL history have that many quarterbacks been taken that high, 83 and 2018.
83, wow, Dan Marino, John Elway.
Correct.
Yeah.
Amazing how, though, that, of course, what do you remember from McNabb's name being called?
Angelo Cataldi and 50 idiots booing him.
Correct, because they wanted
Ricky Williams. I mean, if the Eagles would have won a Super Bowl, they would have looked like the dumbest fans ever. But to this day, Angelo Cataldi's still in the air.
I guess he is still doing the morning show on WIP, right?
I don't listen to it, but I'm pretty sure he is. We would have heard if he retired.
Yeah, that was, he ended up being the greatest quarterback in Eagles history who was drafted that day, and he was the best one in that class.
Yeah, definitely. People thought Tim Couch out of Kentucky would have been, but he wasn't.
No, and
he barely played.
And my understanding, when thinking back on it, is the fact that I believe if the Eagles would have had the first pick in the draft, they were still going to take Donovan McNabb number 1.
Yeah. Andy Reid was in love with him, and he wanted the mobile quarterback. And like I said, if he would have won a Super Bowl, he would be revered in the city. He'd be like Chase Utley. He'd be loved.
Well, I don't know. Something didn't settle in his stomach right or something there in that Super Bowl.
I know. I mean, we're talking about a guy who went to, 5 NFC championship games for the Eagles, and we talk about him like he's, like he's hated.
And to a large degree, a lot of people do have a lot of hatred for him. And what you're saying is only because they didn't win a Super Bowl, and we do have that bad taste in our mouth losing 4 NFC Championship games. And I think they were in 4 in a row, correct?
4 in a row?
And they lost the first 3.
Yeah, because they didn't lose 4 straight like the Buffalo Bills did in the Super Bowl.
Correct.
Yeah, they were heartbreakers. They were all games we should have won. We mentioned earlier the Tampa Bay game. The last game at the Vet, we lost that. We lost to Carolina. And what was it, Masim Muhammad? I mean, they're garbage receivers to beat us in that game.
Correct.
That's 2. What was the other one? Well, we lost to the Rams. They were favored in that game. That was the high-powered Kurt Warner offense.
And the Eagles ended up losing to Kurt Warner.
Kurt Warner in Arizona, another game that we could have and should have won.
Yes, the Eagles were right in that game up until the end, and they just couldn't. They just couldn't put that last drive together. I can remember watching. I can remember my sister, who is a huge Dallas Cowboys fan. I know, pray for her, everybody.
Is she from Dallas?
No. No, my mother was a Cowboys fan, and it kind of went to my brother and my sister. And actually, I actually was someone who understood early on that that's not the right thing.
Yeah, I have an uncle who's a Cowboys fan. I mean, it's.
But I remember my sister calling me during that game against Arizona, telling me that the Eagles were going to make the drive to win that game. And I said, as an Eagles fan, of course, I said I don't think so, and it didn't happen.
No, I don't remember that drive. The details of it, actually. Was it just a 4 and out?
I think it was. If I'm remembering correctly, we can go back and check this, of course.
Yeah.
And our staff will do that, obviously. But
Yeah, definitely.
I think McNabb threw one of his famous worm balls on the 3rd down play, and then the 4th down play didn't go anywhere.
Yeah, I think it was. It was a 4 and out. Yeah.
So yeah, but to think back now, obviously there's been a Super Bowl, and thankfully it was a Super Bowl where they were able to finally beat the Patriots after it was the Patriots who beat Donovan McNabb in the Super Bowl, and that was the whole Terrell Owens thing too. I mean, he came back from that injury and played great in that Super Bowl, and that was another thing where it looked like a lot, and I still think a lot of fans they take Owens' side, and that puts a negative connotation or negative stink onto Donovan McNabb as well.
Isn't that something? They take a guy's side that played here for 1 year, and he's loved more than the guy who played here for 12 seasons.
He's the best quarterback in Eagles history, and it's not even debatable.
Yep. Well, next week's the draft. Thursday night, so I'm sure next Tuesday night we'll talk mostly NFL draft. We'll say who we think the Eagles are going to pick. And, we were adjusted to that 6th pick all off season. We thought that we were excited about it. We're going to get a number 1 receiver. Now we're back further down to 12, and I just don't have the same excitement. I don't see the same caliber player. But we'll look it over, and we'll do our best to give you our analysis of the draft.
Yeah, and the only thing I can add to that now is, we will do that for sure next week, but it looks like you never know who's going to fall to those slots, and you never know what the Eagles are going to do.
Right.
At this moment, if I was looking at the board and thinking who was going to be there, I don't know if Patrick Surtain is going to be there or not. If not, there's the cornerback from South Carolina will probably be on the board for the Eagles to take. Now, whether they want to go that route or not, I don't know.
Man, you're pretty much at mercy of what the other teams are going to do. That's why I wish they would have just stayed put.
Yeah, because at 6, it's almost obvious that there's going to be a top player at a position that can benefit you next year. That's someone who you can plug right in.
Sure.
But,
yeah. Well, it was another action full of information-packed hour here on Philly Sports Talk. I don't know where else you'll get this much information and statistics packed into 1 hour of radio.
And Alec Bone has put the Phillies up 6-3.
See that?
With a 2-run home run.
You also get play-by-play.
Yeah, almost. And go back and watch that swing, because that is a textbook swing that Alec Bone put on that ball. And by the way, everybody, we are not having the Flyers minute this week. What's the point?
Not much to talk about there.
No, and before we close, you wanted to touch on the race that took place on Sunday?
Sure. It was a race that Denny Hamlin dominated. He was pretty much the best car all day long. He took off on every restart except for the last one, where Alex Bowman just had the better car. And I didn't see that one coming. It was the first Hendrick win at Richmond since 2008. Well, Jeff Gordon, I believe. I think that's what they said.
I think you're right. And like you said, that's right around the corner from where Denny lives. And it's been something, as those of us who have been Denny Hamlin fans, late in races, restarts, it's always something that has plagued him. And it did once again.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't seem too upset after the race. He seemed, he was happy with his second place. I mean, it seems like every week there's one problem that cost him the race. It wasn't actually a problem. It was just Bowman had the better car. He took off better on that last restart. So,
and good for him. I mean, he's an interesting guy, and he's been around. Bowman hasn't been around all that long. I mean, he has 3 career wins, and it was a good win for him. And he hung in there, and he just. And of course, me being a Hamlin fan, they even showed his final pit stop and how quick it was, and that he got out of the pit ahead of Joey Logano, and the pit crew was high fiving everybody. And as soon as you looked up, it's like, wait, there's Bowman, and he's got a better car.
Yeah, and I always talk about how good Hamlin's pit crew is, the best this year. And Martin Truex, who's been in a lot of races, his pit crew's the opposite. They cost him races. They've cost him time and positions. But going forward, what do we have next week? We have Talladega, where they can get all 40 names and put them in a hat and pick one, and your guess is as good as mine.
Well, and obviously there's going to be a record too, and you just got to somehow try not to be involved in it.
Yeah, exactly. Hamlin's also good at that. He's good at hanging in the back and waiting for the big one to happen, and then racing with 25 cars instead of 40. So patience is going to be a big key next week. I guess I can make a pick. I like Kyle Larson.
Well, I went against Denny this week. I'm going to go against Denny again, and I'm actually going to pick Harvick to win this week. He hasn't been himself, but I think at Talladega, if he can keep his car out there, I think Kevin Harvick is going to be the one to win this week in the number 4 car.
So that would be another first-time 2021 winner if that happens.
Yes, I know. It just seems every week there's just someone new. I mean, it's one of those things now where even the announcers are just saying how strange that is.
Yeah, it is definitely, because last year was dominated by Harvick and Hamlin.
Correct.
And this year's been I don't know if they changed the cars around or what, but it's been.
And I think a lot of it though is the fact that there is a better crop of younger drivers who are finally making their names and are finally coming into being as talented as they've been projected to be.
I know what I watched Sunday for the first time. I've never watched a full one, F1 race.
Okay.
I wanted to watch Lewis Hamilton and see all the hype. Lewis Hamilton was overwhelming favorite. I put him in one of my futures bets that I do where I pick the champions. I took Lewis Hamilton and I took the winners. I took like Tampa Bay Lightning, the Yankees, or not the Yankees, the Dodgers. I took the Nets. And I did a five team because it seems like Hamilton wins every week. So I wanted to watch it. It was an early 9 o'clock race on Sunday. First turn of the race, the track was wet and they race anyway in the wet. They just put rain tires on. Him and Max Verstappen got together. Hamilton goes over top of the what do they call it? The chicane, the bump, ruins his car on the first turn of the race. But he hangs in there. He eventually crashes. He thinks he's out of the race, but somehow he gets back. He gets out of the dirt, turns the car around. He's 8th. The announcers say he's a lap behind, but he's able to. He was the first car a lap behind, so just like NASCAR, he got to come back around. He goes into the pits. They put a new wing on front of his car. You should have seen this. They take off the whole front and insert a new front of the car. It was like a robot. He gets all the way back up to second place.
Wow.
Yeah, that guy's a hell of a driver.
that's one of the downsides there of racing too, where early on your guy can get into a wreck. It's not even his fault,
Right.
And can be out of it if you like going to the Phillies game and they're down 8-0 in the first inning.
Yeah, I mean, but it was cool.
I mean, obviously not more would have been pitching. But
It was cool. What they did was it was like a horse race. They did an inquiry where they investigated Verstappen for not giving him the room, but they found out he was not at fault. So if they found out that he pushed him, he would have been out of the race. NASCAR should think about something like that.
yeah. Huh.
Yeah, it was interesting.
When you mentioned that you hadn't watched that, the only thing too, when you talked about a race, the IndyCar race on Sunday had a huge wreck to start that race too. But it was interesting that Jimmy Johnson, most NASCAR fans are going to remember Jimmy Johnson in the 48 car for sure.
Mm-hmm.
That was his first Indy race.
Oh, I wanted to watch that. I forgot all about that.
Well, and anyway, just to keep the play-by-play going, another home run given up by Zach Wheeler is 6-4.
Oh,
That's
boy.
the second one Buster Posey has hit. Zach Wheeler's coming out of the game.
Well, looks like we got our high-scoring game that I predicted last night for you. Sorry.
Yeah, well, this guy who's projected to be one of the top two in the rotation, giving up 3 home runs here at home. I'm starting to lose a lot of faith in Zach Wheeler as well. I mean, obviously the guy throws hard, but when you throw hard and straight and can't fool somebody on your off-speed pitches, the balls go out of the ballpark like we're seeing tonight.
Exactly. You need movement. It reminds me of our favorite closer. It's 2 pitches. Hector Neris.
Yeah, who may be in the game tonight,
Yeah.
which would mean the Phillies have the lead, but once again, oh my
Hold your breath.
Yeah.
And you know, it's not fun being a Philly. They're 8-8. They're in second place, but it's not a solid. It's not an 8-8 where they could be 12-4, or we expect them to improve. We just don't see it with this team.
No, and we started off talking about the Sixers, and we did touch on the Phillies. And it's just when you look through there, though, and I know Dombrowski's there, and he's going to have some work to do, but there's just way too many glaring holes. But you know, the only problem, Cash, is those glaring holes have been there for the last 10 seasons.
Yeah, they don't seem to want to fill them. And it's not like they don't have the money. We're not in Kansas City or Cleveland. We have the money. It's just making the moves, and I don't know. They seem like they fall in love with these guys. Don't want to see them part. I don't get it.
I don't.
And I can't blame Joe Girardi. Like I've said before, I can't. He has to deal the deck he's given. I mean, he can't help it if he doesn't have a closer.
Well, and here tonight is a perfect example. They had a very tough game last night with Gabe Haber coming back. You would have thought they would have put runs on the board. They couldn't do it. Apparently, Reese Hoskins showed some emotion by beating out some trash cans or some equipment.
Yeah.
Or something after the loss last night. They come out tonight, get a 4-0 lead. You have Zach Wheeler on the mound, and now once it's 6-4 now, and it's just like, here we go again.
What inning is it?
It is in the 6th.
So we need 4 innings of relief pitching.
Yeah, and it's never one of those things to where you say,
and they're shorthanded.
The Phillies are up 4-0. This one's over.
Yeah, and they're shorthanded. They're without Alvarado tonight.
True, and last night with Anderson only going 4 innings, they had to use a lot of the bullpen.
Yeah, how much longer do we think Anderson's going to be here? Hopefully not much more.
Last night was just a situation to where they needed to try to get a spark in the fourth inning. I think he could have pitched another inning or two. He only given up 2 runs, and you would have thought, like last night, of course, the Phillies could have scored some runs, but they didn't. And they brought in tonight is, guess who they brought in last night? He pitched last night too. I'm trying to think of his name. It was hard.
Brogdon?
No, not him. It's the other guy.
Coonrod?
That's it.
I was watching him pitch in the bullpen Sunday. Oh man, that was some smoke he was throwing. I had my daughter with me. She couldn't believe how hard they was throwing.
Yeah, he threw one pitch. He got the Phillies out of the inning.
Nice. Yeah, he can fire. But getting back to Chase Anderson, I watched the game. I feel like every player he's facing is going to hit a home run. I can't stand watching a pitcher like that. You go from Aaron Nola one day to him the next day.
Right, and when you mention Noah, I mean, it's one of those things to where you've seen him start. I guess that was his 4th start this year, and that's obviously been the best one. Yeah. Opening day, he did give up the home run to Sandoval that ended up tying the game, but the Phillies won that one. But he didn't look good in his 2 other starts, and he looked horrible in in the second game of the doubleheader in New York, where once again, this time coming off the Phillies loss, he came out and dominated and got the Phillies back in the win column. But after losing the first game of that doubleheader in New York, he came out. Next thing you know, the Phillies are down 4-0.
All right, I got one more surprise trivia question for you. I love it.
I'll try it.
Since 2017, 3 pitchers in Major League Baseball have had 110 starts, 750 strikeouts, and a 3.3 ERA or less. Who are they?
Aaron Nola.
Yeah, that was the hard one.
Let's see. Garrett Cole.
Correct.
Clayton Kershaw.
No.
Wow.
A guy we've praised a lot early this season in our division.
James DeGrom.
Yep, they're the 3.
Yep. Wow.
So Aaron Nola's in that company.
I apologize out there to all the Mets fans that I left DeGrom out. Obviously, to me, DeGrom's the best pitcher in baseball.
Yes.
Well, and the thing too is there was a stat I saw the other day too about it was Aaron Nola. I guess he had. I know he hadn't pitched into the 9th inning like you said, but he had more innings pitched over the last 4 to 5 years than any other pitcher in baseball. And second was Garrett Cole, and it's like, yeah, I know. I mean, Aaron's been out there and has pitched a lot. It's just okay. No playoff games. There you go.
No playoff game. And you're right. He doesn't miss games. He is an Iron Man. And especially, they were concerned about his elbow when they signed him to the long-term deal. That's probably what cost him a lot of money was his elbow problems. But
right, and
they haven't been there.
And I'll tell you what, when you hear Aaron Nola in interviews, when you hear him talk, he has a personality that's a personality that I extremely like because he's the same person all the time, and it seems like he has a little bit of a dry sense of humor. But he's just a guy who, being a Phillies fan, has been frustrating. But hopefully, after that last start, it's going to be one we're going to see him carry through. But we've seen him carry through great starts before, where he's finished 3rd in the Cy Young voting, and down the stretch, it just seems like something happens.
Yeah, his tempers have not been good. I don't know if it's fatigue or if it's not coming up in the clutch, but hopefully he has a chance to do it again this year. But
hey,
I don't see it.
What you just mentioned about Phillies players not coming through in the clutch, it doesn't seem to happen much in Philadelphia. No, that's just been the problem, especially with the baseball team.
Yeah, but Bryce Harper's he's been playing great, but the rest of the team, like I started the show off, it reminds me of the Mike Schmidt teams with Von Hayes and Charlie Hayes and Steve Jeltz and Ron Renicky, Glenn Wilson. He was surrounded with trash.
Yeah, he did have in 1980. Of course, that team won the World Series in '83. They were in it, but you're right. There was a lot of years where
I'm talking the later years. That's what I remember seeing.
Yeah, exactly. NASCAR brought in.
Yeah, Bo Diaz. I just don't want to see what happened with Iverson and with Barkley. I don't want to see that happen with Harper. I want to see them surround them with players, and they think they did with this Realmuto, but we know better.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And our favorite player, number 24, Roman Quinn, is up to bat right now in the game. But also, when you talk about that, the one bright spot with the Phillies is Alec Bohm, and Segura has played pretty well this year. I hope that he didn't hurt himself earlier in this game.
Is he out of the game?
But I believe he is. I'm not sure though.
That's a shame.
As we've been talking here, I saw him walk off with the trainer, and I haven't caught whether he's been back in there or not as I looked up. I just happened to look up now and see Roman Quinn with the bat in his hand batting from the right side. It's 1 ball and 2 strikes to Roman Quinn, and Roman Quinn strikes out looking.
Wow, the 0.45 average will dip.
A fastball right down, inside corner, but that's pitch that hitter should be able to turn.
What's the stat for Segura? He could strike out his next 167 at bats.
And he still would not have the average that Roman Quinn has right now.
It's unbelievable.
Well, we've covered some ground here tonight.
We sure have.
Our shows tend to go long when we don't have someone following us, so hopefully that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun. We talk pretty much every sport out there, except for hockey.
Well, there's a hockey team in Philly?
Yeah, exactly. All right. That about wraps it up, folks.
Yeah, we will be here next week at the same time, and hopefully we'll be discussing where we think the Eagles are going to be in the draft, and hopefully some Phillies wins and some positive things with the Sixers. I mean, they do have a game with the Suns coming up, which should be an interesting game.
And 2 with the Bucks.
Yes. Yes, so it will be some interesting conversation next week, and hopefully we'll be feeling better than we did last night coming off those 2 losses.
Absolutely.
Just thank you. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you, everybody, for downloading. You're listening to Philly Sports Talk with Cassie and Chris right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all its sports.
See you guys.
See everybody next week.